Hello everyone, welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is, Do Statues Cry Blood? If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. Have you ever seen a statue cry? No, not a statue that looks like one's crying, but an actual statue crying. I'll explain as I tell my story. About a month ago, my friend went missing. She's still missing. Me and what's left of my friends haven't been able to find any evidence of her since. She just vanished one day. See, we're all sculptors, architects, and artists in our little social circle, and we meet regularly on Tuesdays to discuss our projects. The thing is, my friend, Verin Rosser, she comes to all the meetings. Even if she's sick or busy, she will find time to just stop in. She's not exactly a close friend, but we knew each other well enough. She dabbled in sculpting small clay things, but she was nowhere near professional, and that's why she always made time to learn from the best of us. So, it didn't make sense for her to be gone at all. Hey Cypress, my closest friend, Quint Magnus asked, You know where Verin went? We promised to meet yesterday to discuss some things regarding my new book, but she didn't meet me. I don't know, I replied, just as confused. She's not been responding to any text I've sent out so far. Maybe she was busy. I don't know, Quint murmured. She's not like this. Now that I'm remembering this, I don't remember Quint at all. I mentioned he was my best friend, but the only memory of him I have is just that one art meeting, and beyond, I don't remember ever meeting him before that, or any other activities with him. Yet it feels like I've known him forever. Maybe it's because all the weirdness that's happening. Guys, Quint said, calling the others in our group. Cypress says she doesn't know anything about Verin. Oh, another friend murmured. A moment later, he got a text, and he spoke, saying, Hey guys, Verin's sister's on the line. She's asking us if she's here. I thought she would know, I muttered, remembering that Verin lived with her sister, but had moved out a few days prior. Maybe we're overreacting, Quint pointed out. Verin probably forgot, and it's just the first time she did. We all agreed, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. Now that I'm writing this, I'm starting to remember more details. Details that I'm not entirely sure are true. I remember something that can't be true, but it is. I remember me and Verin at the forest having a picnic near a stream sometime in autumn. I don't think that ever happened, but in this memory, I remember snapping a few photos of the landscape with my phone, and I checked my phone, and there they were. The photos are odd, off-color just a bit, not duller, but too bright, brighter than what things look like in real life. The two of us looked too happy, enjoying life too much. I don't know. It might be my imagination. I tend to think of weird things. It was a few days later when we really suspected something had happened to Varin. It was oddly Quint who sent the first text questioning her disappearance, while in reality, Quint barely knows Varin to be concerned about her. "Do you all want to look for her?" Quint asked in a text. "We can stop by her usual resting spots." "Sure," spoke Xavier, a friend mildly close to Varin. "I've been wondering what happened to her." I think we should ask her sister Melanie," I suggested. Everyone agreed. Her sister simply told me she had been trying to locate Varin for the past few days, yet she had turned up no effort. But Melanie did say Varin had a habit of disappearing for days at a time. I don't think she would vanish for a few days at a time. From what I knew of her, she was always on time, always prepared. Anyways, we decided to split up, and I was paired with Quint, and we set off to Varin's new apartment. But here's where it gets really odd. When we got to the address Melanie said she gave her, well, simply put, we found no apartment. The only thing there was an apartment's ruins, and it was no way fit to live in. The plot of land, according to a sign, was on the market and currently belonged to no one. We asked Melanie if she knew this, and she simply told us she had tried to travel to the apartment, yet for some reason or another, she just couldn't. Her car broke down. A pipe exploded. Something always distracted her from finding the apartment. At the time, I don't know why me and Quint ignored that bizarre fact. I'm not sure why we decided to get out of the car. Maybe I was following Quint's lead. It seemed like a sensible thing to follow them. We entered the building to see nothing but dust. I saw Quint take out their flashlight and turn it on, scaring away some mice. But they weren't mice. I'm not entirely sure, but when I bent over to where they had been, there was this icky gray gooey thing, almost like clay. "Let's move," Quint told. "Okay." Something compelled me to follow them. We checked the stairs, but they were broken and had been snapped in two. So we went to the elevators. Again, a red flag. But somehow Quint made me feel like everything was all right. The elevators worked like it was brand new. Actually, unless I'm remembering wrong, the elevators were brand new. They smelled like fine coffee, in contrast to the mold and dust of the rest of the apartment. We stopped on the 4th floor and exited to a dark, damp hallway. There was more clay on the floor, and it was thicker, more solid this time, older clay. We saw that of all the apartment doors, only one was open. "In there," Quint murmured. Are you sure?" I asked. "Trust me." Somehow, I did, and we began inching our way towards the open door. The hallway, while it seemed short, seemed to stretch on forever, going on and on and on. My phone beeped, and I saw that it was a text from Varin. It was a jumble of numbers strung together and 3 words I'll never forget. 23, 93, 01, 38, 49, 28, 40, 85. Stop looking. Leave now. I wasn't sure what to make of it, but before I could inform Quint, we had reached the room, and what we saw chilled me to the very core. It was impossible, yet it was real, and I'm certain I saw it. The room wasn't a room. Everything was made out of the same dull clay we had seen all over the place. But that's not what shocked me the most. Every single corner of the apartment, there were sculptures of people. Sculptures far too detailed and gorgeous to have been made by any human hands. And by the light of Quint's flashlight, we saw the abomination in the middle of the room. Marin, or rather, a sculpture of her, hanging upside down, being held by chains from the ceiling. Chains made out of dull clay were around her legs, keeping them connected to what seemed to be an odd, almost symbolic structure at the top of the room. "What the hell?" I yelled out, confused. "What's going on?" Quint simply smiled and took several steps into the room. Somehow calm, he went up to the upside-down clay Marin and reached into her chest. His fingers just went inside her like the statue was made out of water. But it was impossible. All the statues were solid. They looked dry, not wet, unlike all we'd seen in the hallway. I saw Quint smile this odd, almost calming smile. And then he withdrew his hand from the statue's chest, pulling out a strange, black, void-like sphere. I've never heard nor seen anything like it. Light seemed to be drawn into it, being sucked out of existence. I saw the beams of Quint's flashlight literally arc, bend into the sphere. "Oh my God," I heard myself utter. I saw the upside-down statue's eyes flick open for a moment, and before I could react, a single teardrop of blood emerged, dripping down onto the floor, where it made a sickening squelch. All around me, I heard this noise, a shrill, a tonal noise that reminded me of wailing. And I saw that the other statue's eyes were open, and they all began to cry crimson droplets of blood. The droplets slid down the statue's faces, which now, no longer gorgeous and happy, but was frozen in glares of agony and pain. And at last, the lights of Quint's flashlight vanished. Nobody moved. Suddenly, I felt something pelt on my face, on my eyes, a wet, sloppy thing. It was clay dripping off the roof onto me, and suddenly, the rocky gray slop was all over me, covering me from head to toe, suffocating me until a light. Quint's flashlight pierced through the clay, and suddenly I saw myself able to see the world once again. "Go!" they yelled, urging me to leave the room. Clay was all over them, and chains were forming around their wrists, keeping him to the ground. I also noticed that the statues were wet, dull, and had changed position. So I did what I could do. I ran, but the hallway stretched too far, repeating again and again. When I looked back, the statues had moved, always getting closer. The hallway repeated again, and I saw Quinn in a kneeling position, their arms strapped to the ground, yet their eyes seemed to almost glow in the darkness, a blinding light amongst the abyss. The next time I passed, they were no longer there, but the statue of Erin standing, blood still dripping down, and the worst part of it, her hand was reaching at me. No, at something past me. I don't know what happened next, but I somehow got to the elevator. The light from the elevator acted as a guard from the wriggling worm-like clay. As the doors closed, I knew I was at last safe. I got to the car and drove, but as I left, I looked up upon a window of the apartment, and I saw a still living, crying Erin peer back at me. Needless to say, I did not get any sleep that night. I don't know what happened a few days after that, but by the time I was brave enough to face my friends, it was Tuesday, our day to meet and discuss art. But then the strangest thing happened. So, did you guys manage to find Erin? I asked, as we were all hanging out. Quint Moggins was notably absent. Who? Asked the last person to respond. Melanie, Erin's very own sister. Who's that? Your sister, I asked. We were all looking for her just a few days before. Speaking of that, where's Quint? Cypress, are you okay? Xavier asked. We don't know what you're talking about. Never mind, I replied, chilled. Hey, began Melanie. Why don't I show you what I'm working on? She then revealed for all of us to see a painting of a pedestal, and on the pedestal was a small cube as dark as night. It had an odd allure to it, and I knew that it was a painting of the very same cube I'd seen Quint rip out of the statues. It's gorgeous, exclaimed Xavier. The others agreed. Cypress, what do you think? Melanie asked. It's interesting. Then I made my excuse to leave. And now, as memories start coming back, more and more memories that I'm sure never happened, I fear for my friends more and more. Because when I focus on the details of the several other statues in that cursed apartment, the more I realize how similar they look to my friends.